Your phone buzzes with a cancelled flight, appending a plan you worked on for months. That knot in your stomach is a universal signal, a moment where the world reminds you it operates on its own terms. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus offered a clear path forward, writing, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This is the core dynamic of influence versus acceptance, a choice we face countless times each day. This video explores how these two principles are not opposing forces, but the twin engines of a deep and steady inner strength. You will learn a practical framework for moving through life's unavoidable challenges with greater peace and resilience. We will uncover how real power lies not in commanding the storm, but in mastering your response to it. What is one situation in your life right now where you feel completely without influence? The first step to Stoic strength is a simple but profound mental sorting exercise. This is the heart of what Stoics call the dichotomy of control, a concept clearly laid out by the philosopher Epictetus at the very beginning of his handbook, the Enchiridion. He invites us to make a clear and decisive separation between two categories. On one side are the things that are within our power, our own thoughts, our judgments, our desires, and the actions we choose to take. On the other side is everything else, every external event, the behavior of other people, our reputations, and the final outcomes of our efforts. This is not a philosophy of surrender. It is a strategy for focusing your energy with great precision. Think about that job interview. You can spend days worrying over whether the hiring manager will like you, a complete unknown that is outside your control. Or you can channel that same energy into what you do command, thoroughly researching the company, preparing thoughtful answers, and choosing to present your best self. One path drains your power while the other builds it. Where in your own life are you exhausting yourself by trying to manage something that ultimately rests in the hands of others? What if accepting a difficult truth was the most powerful move you could make? This is where the second engine of Stoic strength ignites. Acceptance is not passive resignation or giving up. It is an active, courageous choice to see the world exactly as it is, without the filter of our protests. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to accept the nature of the universe, writing that we must love the hand that fate deals us. He saw this not as weakness, but as the only sane starting point for effective action. Think of your reaction to a sudden downpour that interrupts a picnic. You can stand there, getting soaked and fuming at the sky, or you can accept the rain as a simple fact and move the party indoors. That shift in perspective is everything. Acceptance clears away the emotional debris of frustration and disappointment, creating a calm space where your rational mind can decide what to do next. It stops you from wasting energy fighting a reality that already exists. Can you recall a recent situation where you struggled against accepting something? Perhaps it was a piece of thoughtful feedback or a change at work you did not expect. Notice how that resistance itself created a secondary layer of stress and tension, draining your focus and keeping you from moving forward. The moment you consciously choose to accept the basic facts of the situation, you are no longer held back by what happened. You become the architect of what happens next. This is the crucial shift where control and acceptance stop being separate ideas and start working together. Think of them not as opposites, but as two sides of the same coin. Our ability to skillfully guide our own responses is only unlocked after we have fully embraced the external circumstances we cannot change. A sailor provides the perfect metaphor. A sailor cannot command the wind or the waves, forces completely outside their power. The first and most vital step is to accept the weather exactly as it is. Only with that clear-eyed acceptance can they then take decisive control of what is within their power, adjusting the sails and steering the rudder to navigate toward their destination. The Stoic philosopher Seneca captured this dynamic beautifully when he wrote, "A man is as wretched as he has convinced himself that he is." He points to the power our judgments hold. We often struggle more in our imagination than in reality, and it is through accepting reality that we reclaim the power to change our experience of it. Consider how this applies to receiving criticism. You cannot control the fact that someone offered a negative opinion. Fighting that fact, trying to argue it away or pretending it was not said, only creates inner turmoil. But the moment you accept the feedback as a simple event that occurred, you instantly regain your footing. Now you are in a position of control. You can calmly sift through the comments, discard what is unhelpful, and extract any valuable kernel of truth that can help you grow. How can accepting a personal limitation actually give you more control over your self-improvement journey? When you deny a weakness, it controls you, dictating your actions from the shadows. But when you courageously accept it as a simple fact, like the sailor accepting the direction of the wind, you can finally chart a course that works with it, or even strengthens you because of it. We often tie our happiness to a future result, believing that achieving a certain goal is the only thing that will make us feel complete. Yet this common belief sets us up for a fragile kind of joy, one that can be easily unsettled by circumstances we do not control. Stoicism offers a thoughtful alternative, a practice known as cognitive detachment from outcomes. This is not about caring less, but about caring wisely. It asks us to pour our full effort into our actions while mentally releasing our grip on the final result. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius advised himself to perform every act as if it were the last of your life, to do it with dignity and without expectation. Your duty is to the action itself, not to the reward it may bring. Think of an elite athlete preparing for the Olympics. They cannot control who their competitors are, the judgment of the referees, or even the weather on the day of the event. What they can control is their own training, their focus during the performance, and the integrity they bring to their sport. By detaching their sense of worth from the gold medal, they compete with a clearer mind and a steadier hand. Their satisfaction comes from knowing they gave their absolute best, a prize that no external outcome can ever take away. This is the essence of acting with virtue, of doing the right thing for its own sake. Now bring this to an upcoming goal in your own life. Perhaps you are working toward a promotion or launching a creative project. How would your approach shift if you focused entirely on the quality of your work, the diligence of your preparation, and the integrity of your actions, while letting go of the specific title or reception you hope to receive? You might find a new sense of freedom in the effort itself, a calm power that is not dependent on a future you cannot command. This is the point where acceptance becomes something far more transformative. What if every obstacle was actually a gift, carefully wrapped in the disguise of a problem? The Stoics, and later the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, gave a name to this radical shift in perspective: amor fati, a love of one's fate. This is not merely tolerating what happens to you, but actively embracing it, seeing every event, especially the difficult ones, as an essential and beneficial part of your life's path. Marcus Aurelius constantly practiced this, urging himself to seek out the advantage in any situation, writing that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. He trained himself to look for the hidden opportunity within every setback. Consider the historical example of the philosopher Musonius Rufus, who was sent into exile. He could have seen this as a crushing defeat, the end of his influence. Instead, he chose to love his new circumstances. He accepted his fate so fully that he began teaching philosophy in his remote location, turning his situation into a new purpose and reaching students he would never have encountered in Rome. His time away did not break him, it remade him. You can practice this with the small frustrations of your own life. That traffic jam that made you late, could it have been a hidden chance to listen to an inspiring podcast you needed to hear? The project at work that was suddenly cancelled, might it have cleared space for a better opportunity you could not yet see? Amor Fati asks you to look at any inconvenience and ask a simple, powerful question. How can I be grateful for this? This reframing turns adversity into fuel, not by denying the hardship, but by trusting in your own capacity to find meaning and strength within it. Our minds are constantly generating stories, often without our conscious permission. A friend walks by without saying hello, and a narrative of offense instantly forms. The stock market dips slightly, and a story of financial concern begins to play. These immediate, unexamined impressions are the raw material our emotions react to, and they are often the true source of our distress. Stoicism introduces a powerful tool to intercept this automatic process, a practice known as the discipline of assent. This is the crucial pause between receiving an impression and giving it your full belief. Epictetus taught his students to say to every troubling impression, "You are just an impression and not necessarily the thing you claim to be." He instructed them to test it, to examine it from all sides before granting it their agreement and allowing it to shape their emotional state. Think of the last time you received a brief, terse email from a colleague. The initial impression might suggest they are upset with me or they do not value my work. This impression carries an immediate emotional charge, urging you to fire back a defensive reply. The discipline of assent asks you to insert a moment of space right there. You withhold your immediate agreement. You look at the impression and question it. Is it possible they are just incredibly busy? Could they have typed that message quickly on their phone? Maybe the tone is a reflection of their stress, not a judgment of you. By pausing to examine the thought, you reclaim authority over your inner world. You move from being a passenger on a runaway emotional train to being the conductor who can apply the brakes. Can you recall a moment when your first impression of a situation was completely wrong, leading you down a path of unnecessary worry or conflict? That initial story felt so real, so true, yet it was a fiction your mind created. The discipline of assent is your built-in fact-checker. It does not ask you to become emotionless, but to become the gatekeeper of which thoughts are worthy of shaping your reality. This practice is how we exercise precise control over the only thing that is truly ours, our judgments. We live in a world designed for convenience, where comfort is often the highest goal. Yet this constant pursuit of ease may be quietly weakening our core resilience. Stoicism introduces a powerful counterintuitive practice, voluntary discomfort, to intentionally build our tolerance for life's inevitable hardships. The philosopher Seneca explored this deeply, advising his friend Lucilius to periodically practice simplicity. He suggested setting aside a few days each month to live on the most basic food and wear simple clothing, not as a punishment, but as a vital training exercise. The goal is to prove to yourself that the conditions you fear are not only endurable, but that you can find a sense of peace and self-reliance within them. This practice transforms your relationship with external events. When you voluntarily step into a minor challenge, you are not suffering, you are training. A cool shower is a drill for accepting an unexpected change of plans. Choosing to walk instead of drive on a brisk morning is a rehearsal for handling a future inconvenience with grace. Each small act of voluntary discomfort is a vote for your own inner strength, proving that your happiness is not held hostage by your external conditions. It dramatically reduces the fear of loss because you have already shown yourself that you can thrive with less. This is how we expand our circle of control, not by changing the world, but by strengthening our capacity to respond to it. What is one small comfort you could voluntarily set aside this week? Perhaps it is taking the stairs, turning off the streaming service for an evening, or eating a simpler meal. The specific act is less important than the conscious choice behind it. In that choice, you are not depriving yourself. You are building an inner foundation, one resilient brick at a time. Shakespeare captured a profound Stoic truth when he wrote, "Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. The event itself is just an event, a collection of neutral facts." The rain falls, a project is cancelled, a person speaks a certain way. These occurrences hold no inherent emotional charge. They are simply what happens. It is our internal judgment, the story we instantly tell ourselves about what it means, that paints the event with the colors of good or bad, disaster or opportunity. This is the very heart of Stoic psychology, and it is where we exercise our most fundamental control. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reinforced this, reminding himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. He understood that our perceptions are the ultimate gatekeepers of our inner peace. Think back to the rain that cancelled your picnic. The rain itself is not bad. It is water falling from the sky, a natural process essential for life. The difficult feeling only appears when we attach a judgment to it, when we decide that this weather has personally disrupted our plans. But what if we accepted the rain as a neutral fact? The moment we do, the emotional frustration loses its power. We are no longer fighting an unwelcome force. We are simply adjusting our plans to accommodate the weather. This is the direct link between control and acceptance. We accept the neutral event, the simple truth of what is, and in doing so, we gain the power to control our judgment of it. We stop accepting a difficult story and start dealing with reality. Can you bring to mind a recent event you labeled as challenging? Perhaps a critical comment from a supervisor or an unexpected bill. Now try to separate the bare facts from your judgment. The facts are, my supervisor said these specific words, or I received an invoice for this amount. The judgment is, this means I am falling short, or this is a financial pressure. See how the judgment, not the event itself, is the true source of your distress. When you pull these two things apart, you create a space of freedom. You can accept the fact without having to accept the painful story you wrapped around it. In that space, you reclaim your power to choose a different, more constructive interpretation, one that serves your peace and your progress. From the quiet of his military tent, the most powerful man in the known world would close his eyes and perform a simple mental exercise. Marcus Aurelius would visualize himself rising above the earth, looking down upon the sprawling Roman Empire, then the entire planet, until all of human activity was just a tiny, fleeting speck in the infinite cosmos. He called this practice the view from above, and it was his ultimate tool for perspective. When your personal troubles feel overwhelming, this ancient technique offers a powerful shift. Picture yourself floating upward, looking down on your street, your city, the continent. See the countless lives unfolding simultaneously, each with their own private joys and challenges. From this vantage point, that difficult conversation with a coworker or the sting of a perceived social slight begins to shrink to its true size. It does not disappear, but it loses its power to dominate your entire emotional landscape. This practice directly fuels acceptance by reminding us of our small but unique place in a vast, interconnected whole. The frustration you feel about a project delay is real, but from 10,000 feet, it is one thread in a magnificent, ever-unfolding tapestry. This is not meant to minimize your experience, but to place it in a wider context. Try applying this to a current concern about your social standing or a disagreement at work. Rise above the immediate emotion and see the situation as if you were a neutral observer from a great distance. Notice how the sharp edges of worry soften, making room for a calm and steady mind to assess what is truly within your power. Acceptance becomes far easier when we see our challenges not as unique catastrophes, but as part of the shared human journey. After this video, find a quiet moment to try this for yourself. Close your eyes and take that mental journey upward. When you return to ground level, you may find that what once felt like an immovable obstacle now feels like something you can calmly accept and wisely manage. There is a profound difference between expecting the worst and being prepared for it. Modern culture often champions relentless positivity, urging us to ignore difficulties and simply hope for the best. Stoicism offers a more grounded alternative, a practice known as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of challenges. This is not about cultivating fear or pessimism, but about proactively disarming potential hardship by examining it calmly in your mind before it ever arrives. The philosopher Seneca explored this deeply, advising that we should anticipate the changes of fortune, not so that we may despair, but so that we may be unaffected. By mentally rehearsing a difficult situation, you strip it of its greatest weapon, the element of surprise. You arrive at the challenging moment not with panic, but with a preloaded sense of acceptance and a clear plan of action. Think about a conversation you need to have. Perhaps it is providing feedback to an employee or discussing a sensitive topic with a family member. Instead of anxiously hoping it goes well, you can sit quietly and visualize the entire exchange. You mentally walk through the other person becoming defensive, or the discussion taking an unexpected turn. You do not do this to feel bad, but to practice your response. You rehearse staying calm, listening with compassion, and firmly stating your perspective without being pulled into conflict. When you then enter the real conversation, it feels familiar. The emotional charge is gone, replaced by a steady readiness. This practice transforms anxiety into preparation. It is the ultimate form of proactive emotional control, because you are not waiting for the storm to hit you, you are building your shelter in advance. Your concern about the event diminishes because you have already lived through a version of it in your mind and emerged with your composure intact. What is one future challenge you are currently thinking about? It could be a potential rejection, a financial shift, or a professional setback. Take a few moments today to mentally rehearse accepting this outcome with equanimity. See yourself facing the situation with calm clarity, focusing only on what is within your power, your own thoughtful response. In doing so, you are not inviting trouble. You are building an inner strength that no external event can easily breach. That quiet composure you see in someone facing a difficult situation is not an absence of feeling. It is the visible sign of a powerful inner discipline at work. Stoic strength often manifests as non-reactivity, the crucial pause you insert between a triggering event and your chosen response. This is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending you do not care. It is about creating a small pocket of space, a moment of freedom, where you can exercise your control and select a virtuous action instead of being carried away by an impulsive reaction. This is the precise point where your acceptance of an external event meets your deliberate internal action. The philosopher Epictetus offered very practical guidance here, advising that whenever you are about to speak, first consider whether your words are necessary. He recommended cultivating silence as a default, only breaking it when your speech would be an improvement. This practice of measured speech is a direct application of non-reactivity. Think of a moment of provocation. A family member makes a sharp, unkind comment during a gathering. The immediate, impulsive reaction is to fire back with a cutting remark of your own, to defend your position and win the point. This impulse feels justified, even automatic, but in that automatic reaction you have handed over your power. Your inner peace becomes dependent on their behavior. Now imagine inserting a single, deliberate breath between their comment and your reply. In that brief space, you accept the fact that they spoke those words. You do not have to accept the story that you are being challenged. You simply acknowledge the event. This pause gives your rational mind a chance to engage. You can ask yourself the Stoic question: what is the virtuous response here? Is it to escalate the conflict, or is it to model patience and understanding? Your answer might be to calmly say, "I hear what you are saying," and then gracefully change the subject. This is not weakness, it is immense strength. You have controlled the only thing you truly can, your own behavior. Today, make it a small practice to insert that single breath before reacting to minor irritations. When you feel the urge to send a frustrated email, just breathe first. When someone is slow in line ahead of you, just breathe. In that tiny space, you are not just pausing. You are building the very foundation of your Stoic resilience. The only time you ever have any real control is right now. This present moment is the single point where your power to choose actually exists. Anxiety is a rejection of the future we cannot command, just as resentment is a struggle against a past we can no longer change. Both are forms of resistance that pull us away from the only arena where our influence is real. Acceptance is the gentle but firm hand that guides us back to the now. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote with striking clarity about this, reminding us that life is not short, we make it so. We lose so much of it by worrying about tomorrow or replaying yesterday, missing the rich reality of the moment we are actually in. This is Stoic mindfulness, the practice of anchoring your attention in the current task. Think of washing dishes. Your mind might rush ahead to the work meeting tomorrow or drift back to a conversation from yesterday. In doing so, you are absent. You are scrubbing a plate, but you are not truly there. The water is warm, the soap smells of lemon, your hands are moving with a simple rhythm. The moment you notice your mind has wandered and you gently return your focus to the sensation of the water and the sight of the clean plate, you have practiced acceptance. You have accepted the present as it is, and in that acceptance you have reclaimed your control. You are no longer lost in thoughts about what you cannot change. You are here, fully engaged and at peace. Try a small experiment after this video. Choose just 5 minutes to do one thing with your complete and undivided attention. It could be drinking a cup of tea, feeling the warmth of the mug, tasting the flavor without looking at your phone. It could be simply sitting and listening to the sounds around you. When your mind inevitably tries to pull you into the future or the past, do not fight it. Just notice the distraction and with kindness, guide your focus back to the now. In that simple act, you are not just being mindful, you are training the twin engines of Stoic strength, learning to accept what is so you can fully inhabit the only time you can ever truly control. This entire framework of control and acceptance rests on a single, beautiful principle, the Stoic ideal of living in accordance with nature. For the Stoics, nature was not just forests and rivers, it was the entire rational and interconnected order of the cosmos. Human nature, our unique place within this whole, is defined by our capacity for reason and our innate social drive to care for one another. To live according to nature, then, means to live with rational virtue and in community with all people. This is the moral compass that guides both our control and our acceptance. The early Stoic philosopher Zeno taught that happiness is found in a life lived in harmony with nature, a life of virtue. Acceptance becomes the act of aligning our will with the unfolding of this cosmic nature, the grand pattern of events we cannot change. Control is then focused on our own inner nature, our judgments and actions, ensuring they are rational, just, and courageous. Think of a tall tree in a strong wind. The tree cannot stop the wind, a force of external nature. It must accept that power and bend with it. Yet, throughout its life, the tree exercises immense control over its own internal nature, its growth always directed toward the sun, its roots digging deep for stability. It does not fight the wind, it uses its own innate nature to thrive within the conditions it is given. You are that tree, your rational mind is your sun. When you feel a desire or face a difficult choice, you can pause and ask a simple but profound question. Does this impulse align with my rational, virtuous nature? Is it just? Is it courageous? Is it self-disciplined? Is it acting for the common good? A desire for retaliation, for instance, might feel powerful, but it is a storm that uproots your inner peace. It is not according to your rational nature. The desire to help someone, even at a personal cost, aligns with your social and virtuous nature. By continually checking your desires against this standard, you are not limiting yourself. You are directing your growth toward a strength that is unshakable because it is rooted in what you truly are. Every ambitious plan you make holds a quiet, hidden vulnerability. The Stoics had an elegant mental tool to protect it, a practice known as the reserve clause. This is the simple habit of adding a silent caveat to every one of your intentions, the words fate permitting. When you say to yourself, I will lead this project to success, fate permitting, you are not weakening your resolve. You are strengthening it with a profound dose of realism. This single phrase perfectly unites the twin engines of control and acceptance, allowing you to act with total commitment while holding the final outcome lightly. The philosopher Seneca wrote extensively about planning for an uncertain future. He advised that we should undertake all our activities with a reserve, directing our efforts without being captured by a specific result. You exercise full control over your preparation and your energy, while simultaneously accepting that the world may have other plans. Imagine you are organizing a long-awaited family vacation. You control the meticulous planning, the booking of flights, the research of activities. You pour your enthusiasm into creating a wonderful experience. The reserve clause is the quiet thought in the back of your mind, the acknowledgement that a flight could be delayed by weather or a traveler could feel unwell. This is not pessimism, it is a strategic form of emotional preparedness. By accepting these possibilities in advance, you prevent them from shattering your peace if they occur. You can adapt to the new reality without a crisis because you never assumed total command over it in the first place. Your ambition to have a great trip remains intact, but it is now tempered with the humility that recognizes forces larger than your own will. This is the essence of Stoic strength in action. Think of a plan you have for tomorrow, perhaps an important meeting or a quiet lunch with a friend. As you think about it now, mentally add those two words, fate permitting. Notice how it changes the feeling around the plan. It does not diminish your intention, but it might just soften the edges of your attachment, creating a spaciousness where disappointment cannot easily take root. You are still the captain of your ship, but you are no longer trying to command the sea. An obstacle does not stand in your way, it reveals the way forward. This is the active, breathing heart of Stoic practice, where the philosophy moves from quiet acceptance to dynamic engagement. Marcus Aurelius put it with stunning clarity, writing, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. He is not suggesting you pretend a roadblock is not there. he is commanding you to see it as the very material for building your strength. Acceptance gives you the clear eyes to see the obstacle for what it is, just a set of neutral facts. Control is then the decision to use those facts as fuel for practicing a specific virtue. A delayed train is not merely an inconvenience, it is a scheduled session for practicing patience. A difficult colleague is not a personal curse, but a daily drill for cultivating understanding and firmness. This is amor fati in its working clothes, a love of fate that rolls up its sleeves and gets to work. History offers a powerful example in the statesman Cato the Younger. He lived during the fall of the Roman Republic, a time of immense political change. His lifelong challenge was the rising power of Julius Caesar, a force he could not stop. Cato did not simply accept this with passive resignation. He accepted the reality of the situation, and then he used that very obstacle to practice and display his unwavering virtue of justice. Every speech he gave, every political stand he took, was a direct use of the impediment to define his own character. His commitment became so legendary that after his time, his opponents reportedly said they wished they had been his allies. The obstacle did not break him, it forged him into an eternal symbol of principle. Now, bring this to a modern challenge. Think of a promising startup that fails to secure its next round of funding. The founders can see this as a final, crushing defeat, the end of their path, or through a Stoic lens, they can accept the funding rejection as a simple fact. That acceptance clears the emotional panic, allowing them to exercise control. They can now use this obstacle as fuel. It becomes an opportunity to practice creativity, forcing a leaner, more innovative business model. It becomes a drill for resilience, testing their commitment to the core idea. Many of the most successful companies today emerged from such early setbacks, not in spite of them, but because the founders used the obstacle as the raw material for a smarter, stronger venture. What is one current barrier in your own life, large or small? It might be a strained relationship, a health consideration, or a professional goal that feels out of reach. Take a moment and see it not as a wall, but as a training ground. Ask yourself, what virtue could this obstacle help me practice? If it is a financial pressure, perhaps it is a masterclass in resourcefulness and moderation. If it is a conflict with someone you care about, it is your daily dojo for practicing patience and compassionate communication. The obstacle itself has not changed, but your relationship to it has undergone a revolution. You are no longer facing a problem, you are accepting a challenge, and in that subtle shift, you claim the power to build your character with the very bricks that were meant to block your path. What do you truly own that cannot be taken from you? Your wealth, your social standing, even the health of your body. All of these are external goods that flourish and fade according to a rhythm you do not control. Acknowledging their impermanent nature is not cynical. It is the foundation for a profound and healthy form of detachment. This acceptance allows you to enjoy the comforts of life without desperately clinging to them, preserving your inner control when they inevitably change or depart. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus offered a beautiful analogy for this perspective. He suggested we think of our possessions and positions like a rented room. You appreciate the shelter it provides, you may even furnish it with care, but you hold it lightly, knowing it is a temporary arrangement. You do not confuse the room with your true self. When the time comes to leave, you can do so with gratitude for the time you had, rather than devastation at the loss. Consider a cherished possession, perhaps a piece of heirloom jewelry or a favorite mug, suddenly broken. The immediate reaction is often a sharp sting of loss, but if you had already held that object with the mindset of a temporary custodian, appreciating its beauty and utility without believing it was a permanent part of your identity, the emotional blow softens. You can feel the sadness, yet it does not shatter your peace. You accepted its fragility from the beginning. Take a moment to list 3 things you deeply value that you know are impermanent. It could be your current job title, a physical ability, or a specific financial security. Now, reflect on the nature of your attachment. Are you holding them as a permanent resident or a grateful guest? This simple reflection begins to rewire your relationship with the world, allowing you to engage with life's gifts fully and freely, without the constant, quiet fear of their eventual departure. Deep within you lies a quiet space no external event can ever breach. This is your inner citadel, a fortress of the mind built not from stone, but from the unwavering bricks of your own reasoned judgment and the resilient mortar of your acceptance. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote of this sanctuary, describing it as the place where you can retreat to find immediate tranquility, a realm governed only by your own virtuous nature. Your true self resides here, completely free, because it is completely insulated from the chaos of outside circumstances. Think of the last time a piece of criticism landed with a sting. In that moment, the outer walls of your life felt under assault, but the inner citadel is where you can take that criticism and examine it calmly, separating the useful insight from the unkind delivery, without letting the event shatter your sense of worth. This is not about building walls to hide from the world, but about constructing a central stronghold from which you can engage with the world wisely and courageously. Your deepest values, your character, your capacity for love and justice, these are the treasures this citadel protects. How do you maintain such a place? Daily reflection is the essential upkeep. Each evening, reviewing your actions and judgments is like walking the ramparts, checking for any cracks where frustration or fear may have seeped in. You ask yourself simple, powerful questions. Did my actions today align with my principles? Where did I hand over my peace to an external event? This quiet audit strengthens the structure. Visualize your own inner fortress now. What does it look like? Is it a serene garden, a quiet library, a simple, sturdy tower? More importantly, what does it safeguard? Perhaps it protects your ability to be kind when others are not, or your commitment to act with integrity even when no one is watching. This inner citadel is your ultimate source of freedom, a private sanctuary of strength that remains standing long after the storms of life have passed. Your inner fortress is not a place to hide from the world, but a base from which to engage with it more compassionately. Stoicism is fundamentally a social philosophy, reminding us that our strength is not just for ourselves but for the benefit of the community. This is where our personal practices of control and acceptance extend outward, forming the bedrock of our duty to others. We are called to accept people exactly as they are, a profound form of understanding, while simultaneously exercising thoughtful control over our own reactions to ensure we treat them with justice and kindness. The Stoic philosopher Hierocles illustrated this beautifully with his circles of concern. He asked us to picture a series of concentric circles. At the center is your own mind, then your immediate family, your local community, and outward until it encompasses all of humanity. Our task, he taught, is to continually draw these circles inward, to bring the same care and consideration we give to ourselves to those in the wider rings. This is not a passive wish, but an active practice that requires both acceptance and control. Think of a challenging relationship in your own life, perhaps a family member whose political views differ sharply from your own. Your initial impulse might be to try and change their mind, to influence their thoughts through forceful debate. This almost always leads to friction and distance. The Stoic approach begins with a different step: acceptance. You consciously accept that this person holds these beliefs and that their right to their own judgment is as inviolable as your own. This does not mean you agree with them. It means you accept the reality of their perspective as a simple fact, just as you would accept the weather. This acceptance clears the space for you to exercise your control. Now you can choose your response with virtue. You can control your tone to be respectful, your listening to be genuine, and your own words to be both honest and kind. You focus the conversation on shared values rather than divisive details. In doing so, you are not conceding your principles, you are practicing them. You are contributing to a more rational and connected society by modeling the very behavior you wish to see. What is one relationship in your life where you could experiment with this dual practice this week? Accept the person as they are in this moment, without a secret agenda to fix them, and focus your energy entirely on controlling your own virtuous response. Notice how this shift from trying to manage another to mastering yourself can transform the dynamic from a battlefield into a bridge. The past is a closed book, its ink long since dried. You cannot turn back a single page, yet how often do you find yourself living in a story that has already been written? This is the ultimate territory of what lies outside our control, a finished event we can no more alter than we can change the direction of the wind. Acceptance, when applied to the past, is the courageous act of reading that closed book without continuing to write new, painful chapters of judgment and regret in the present. It means looking directly at what happened and saying, "This occurred. It is a fact. I cannot change this fact." The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote with deep concern about how we squander our lives by clinging to what is gone. He observed that we are often more deeply marked by our reaction to a past event than by the event itself, that we are weighed down not by what happened, but by the story we have not yet released. Think of a past experience that did not unfold as you hoped, perhaps a professional path that shifted unexpectedly or a personal connection that reached its natural conclusion. The event itself is a neutral point in history. The continued difficulty comes from our refusal to accept its finality. We replay the scene, imagining different choices, or we feed a quiet attachment that ties us to a person or a moment we can no longer reach. This is where you exercise your control. You cannot control what has already unfolded, but you hold absolute power over your present response to it. Acceptance clears the ground, allowing you to ask the only question that matters now. Given that this happened, what is the next right action I can take? Your past experience becomes not a permanent burden, but a lesson integrated. A regretted conversation becomes a reminder to practice patience today. By accepting the past as it is, you stop letting it control your present. You reclaim the authorship of your current chapter. Bring to mind one past event that still holds an emotional weight for you. It does not have to be a major event. It could be a word you spoke without thinking or an opportunity you feel you missed. For a moment, simply acknowledge it as a fact of your history, without layering on any judgment about what it means about you. See if you can feel the subtle shift, the small release of energy that was tied up in fighting a reality that already exists. That freed energy is now available to you, ready to be directed with control toward building what comes next. The most powerful forces shaping your daily experience are not events themselves, but the magnetic pull of your own desires and the sharp push of your aversions. Stoic philosophy offers a master key for managing these twin currents of wanting and not wanting, a practice that directly applies the engines of control and acceptance to our deepest impulses. The goal is not to eliminate desire or aversion, but to align them with your rational nature, creating a profound inner equilibrium. Epictetus begins his entire Enchiridion with this very point, stating clearly that some things are up to us and some are not, and that our desires and aversions fall squarely into the first category. He defines a troubled life as one where our desires are perpetually frustrated and our aversions constantly encountered. This is the core of emotional turbulence. A desire, in the Stoic sense, is not a simple wish. It is an intense attachment to securing a specific external outcome, like the craving for universal praise or the deep need for a promotion. An aversion is its mirror image, a powerful rejection of an external event, such as a strong unease about criticism or a deep concern over financial change. Both states hand the reins of your happiness over to something you do not command. The practice is to use your faculty of control to redirect these impulses. You cannot control whether praise comes your way, but you can absolutely control your desire for it. You can examine that desire and ask if it aligns with virtue. Does wanting constant approval help you act with more courage and integrity, or does it tempt you to compromise your principles to be liked? You can then consciously reshape that desire into something you do control, a desire to act honorably in every situation, regardless of the applause. The outcome, the praise or the silence, is then met with calm acceptance. The same process works for aversion. You might have a strong aversion to receiving critical feedback. This aversion lies outside your control, as you cannot prevent others from forming their opinions, but you can use your control to transform that aversion. Instead of rejecting criticism, you can cultivate an aversion to acting defensively or to closing your mind to potential growth. You accept the feedback as a simple event, and you control your response by sifting it for useful truth. The emotional charge dissolves because you are no longer fighting the inevitable. Your peace is no longer tied to whether people approve of you, but to whether you approve of your own actions. What is one desire or aversion that currently creates turbulence in your life? Perhaps it is a desire for a particular lifestyle that feels just out of reach, or an aversion to having a difficult but necessary conversation. See if you can gently pull that impulse apart. Separate the external object you cannot command from the internal judgment you can. Then practice the realignment. Shift your desire from the external reward to the virtue required in the pursuit. Transform your aversion from the external event to the internal habit of reacting poorly. In this subtle but powerful recalibration, you are not suppressing a feeling. You are exercising the deepest form of self-command, building a stability that no fluctuation of fortune can easily unsettle. A quiet evening offers the perfect space to weave these principles into the fabric of your life. One of the most powerful Stoic rituals is the daily review, a simple practice of looking back over your day with a calm and honest eye. This is not about self-criticism, but about self-awareness, a gentle way to integrate the lessons of control and acceptance. The philosopher Seneca made this a nightly habit, writing that he would examine his entire day, going back over what he had done and said, hiding nothing from himself and passing nothing by. He used this time to acknowledge his missteps and reinforce his progress, treating each day as a stepping stone on his path to wisdom. You can adopt this practice with a simple 3-question format. First, ask yourself, what happened today that was outside my control, and did I accept it with grace or resist it with frustration? This question trains your capacity for acceptance, helping you see where you might have struggled against an unchangeable reality. Second, ask, where did I exercise my control over my judgments and actions, and did I use that power with virtue? This focuses your attention on your inner realm, assessing whether your responses were rational, just, and courageous. Finally, ask, what is one thing I can learn from today to carry into tomorrow? This turns reflection into forward momentum, ensuring every experience, whether smooth or challenging, contributes to your growth. Tonight, before you sleep, find just a few minutes of quiet. Review the events of your day through this 3-part lens. you might be surprised by the clarity it brings, transforming yesterday's frustrations into tomorrow's resilience. So many conflicts begin with a single unconsidered word. We often feel a powerful urge to speak, to correct, to defend, or to have the final say, believing this demonstrates our strength. Yet this impulse frequently betrays a deeper lack of control, a need to manage the external world of others, opinions rather than the internal world of our own composure. The ancient Stoics saw disciplined speech as a direct reflection of inner mastery. Epictetus offered a clear reminder that we must have ready the means for ensuring we never speak too hastily. He was not advocating for silence at all times, but for a thoughtful pause, a moment of reflection before our words take on a life of their own. This practice is an active application of both control and acceptance. We guide our expression, and in doing so, we accept a profound truth that we do not need to win every exchange or voice every judgment to maintain our peace. Consider the last team meeting you attended. A colleague presents an idea you believe is flawed. The immediate reaction is to interrupt, to point out the weakness, to showcase your own insight. But what if instead you chose the control of quiet attention? You listen fully. You accept that your perspective does not need immediate validation. This measured approach does not mean you agree. It means you are choosing the most effective moment and manner to contribute, if a contribution is even necessary. The same dynamic unfolds on social media, where a provocative post can feel like a personal challenge. The impulsive desire to type a cutting reply is a surrender of control, handing your emotional state over to a stranger's words. Choosing to simply close the app is not a retreat. It is a declaration of self-command. It is the acceptance that you do not need to engage in every battle to prove your worth. This conscious restraint builds respect, not because people fear you, but because they see a person who is not easily thrown off balance. Where in your day-to-day can you practice this powerful form of control? It might be pausing for 3 full seconds before responding to a question, or deciding not to comment on a contentious online thread. In that small, deliberate space of quiet, you are not being passive. You are actively building the inner strength that comes from knowing some things are better left unspoken. A deeper current of trust flows beneath the surface of Stoic acceptance. The philosophy invites us to consider that the universe itself is not a chaotic accident, but a manifestation of a divine logos, a universal reason that orders all things with intelligence. This is the bedrock of the Stoic concept of providence. When you trust that a rational and even benevolent principle governs the cosmos, accepting difficult events transforms from a grim duty into an act of profound faith. You begin to see your personal struggles not as random punishments, but as necessary threads in a vast, beautiful tapestry whose full pattern you cannot perceive from your single vantage point. Marcus Aurelius returned to this idea again and again in his private writings, reminding himself to constantly think of the universe as one living being, with a single substance and a single soul. Observe how all things are interconnected, how they work together to cause one event. He saw his own life, with all its burdens and joys, as one small but essential part of this magnificent, breathing whole. Consider a single, tangled thread on the backside of an immense embroidery. From that limited view, the thread's path seems messy and without purpose, crossing over others in confusing knots. But if you could flip the tapestry over, you would see how that same thread helps form the outline of a leaf in a grand, breathtaking forest scene. Your life is that thread. The challenge you face today, the unexpected delay, the personal transition, these are the knots and turns on the back of the tapestry. They feel confusing and difficult from your current perspective. But the Stoic trust in providence is the quiet faith that from a higher vantage point, These experiences are integral to a pattern of immense beauty and coherence that you are helping to weave. This does not erase the ache of the moment, but it does infuse it with a sense of meaning that can make it bearable, even sacred. How might your perspective on a current personal challenge shift if you could truly see it as a necessary part of a larger, good whole? Does the weight of it feel different when you consider that it might be contributing to a pattern far greater than your own individual story? We are taught that freedom means having no limits, an endless horizon of choices and possibilities. But this modern ideal often leads to a subtle form of imprisonment, a constant anxiety that we have not chosen the best path or acquired the most fulfilling life. Stoicism reveals a beautiful paradox that genuine freedom is not found in escaping our limits, but in fully embracing them. True liberty arrives the moment we stop struggling against the immovable walls of our existence and instead accept them as the very architecture of our inner strength. The philosopher Seneca, who knew both great wealth and the threat of its loss, wrote that no one is more free than the person who looks to philosophy for guidance. He meant that philosophy, this practice of discernment, teaches us where our real boundaries lie, liberating us from the exhausting pretense of total control. Consider the strict form of a sonnet, a type of poetry with 14 lines and a rigid rhyme scheme. To a novice, these rules might feel like a creative cage, stifling expression. But a master poet sees this structure not as a barrier, but as a catalyst for ingenuity. The limitation forces a deeper focus, a more careful selection of each word, ultimately producing a work of art more powerful and precise than one born from limitless, unchanneled freedom. The sonnet's form is the acceptance, the creative choices within it are the control. Your life operates on the same principle. By accepting the ultimate boundaries of your control, your own human journey, the fact that you cannot force others to love you, the reality that your body has certain unchangeable capacities, you are not giving up. You are finally stopping the futile battle against the ocean's tide. This surrender to what is real creates an immense space of personal freedom. The energy you once spent struggling against your finitude is now available to pour into the realm you truly command, your character, your actions, your appreciation for the present moment. This is the freedom of the Stoic sage, a person unshackled from the desperate need for life to be different. What personal limitation do you find yourself constantly working with? Is it the natural progression of your body, a fixed aspect of your personality, or a past experience you cannot undo? What if, just for a moment, you stopped resisting and simply accepted that this is part of your landscape? Notice the quiet sense of relief that follows, the liberation of no longer having to change what cannot be changed. In that open space, your true power to build a meaningful life within your given circumstances can finally begin to flourish. Philosophy is not a set of ideas to be debated, but a medicine to be taken daily for the health of the soul. The Stoics saw their principles as practical tools, and the true test of your understanding is how you live between sunrise and sunset. Let us weave the twin engines of control and acceptance into the fabric of an ordinary day, transforming abstract knowledge into lived strength. A simple morning and evening ritual can integrate everything we have explored. Begin your day with a quiet moment of intention. Before the world makes its demands, sit with the dichotomy of control. Mentally scan the day ahead. Identify the meetings, tasks, and interactions you will face. Now perform the vital sorting exercise. Separate what is within your power from what is not. Your thorough preparation for that presentation is within your control. The final decision of the client is not. Your commitment to being patient with your children is within your power. Their mood when they wake up is not. This is not a list of worries, but a map of where you will focus your energy. Set a clear intention to excel in your own actions and to meet all external outcomes with calm acceptance. This morning review takes only a few minutes, but it programs your mind for the day, turning philosophy into a proactive strategy. As your day unfolds, your primary practice is acceptance. Events will inevitably diverge from your morning plan. The train will be delayed, a project will be cancelled, a colleague will speak harshly. This is where the second engine ignites. When you encounter such a moment, pause for a single breath. Acknowledge the event as a simple fact, without immediately layering on a story of frustration or injustice. See the rain, hear the critical words, notice the change in schedule. This is what is happening. Your practice is to accept this reality without internal protest. This acceptance clears the emotional static, creating a space of quiet clarity. From that calm center, you can then exercise your control, choosing a rational and virtuous response. You are the sailor adjusting the sails to the actual wind, not the one cursing the sea. Then, as evening settles, you return to reflection. Look back over the day with a gentle and honest eye. Ask yourself two simple questions. Where did I practice acceptance well, and where did I struggle against reality? Where did I exercise control over my judgments and actions with virtue, and where did I hand my power over to an external event? There is no need for harsh self-judgment here. This is merely gathering data, like a gardener noting which plants thrived and which need more care. Perhaps you accepted a last-minute change at work with grace, a small victory. Maybe you noticed yourself becoming defensive during a conversation, a clue for tomorrow's practice. This evening review closes the loop, turning daily experience into lasting wisdom. This entire cycle mirrors the ancient Stoic view of philosophy as a form of medicine for the mind. You would not take a powerful remedy just once and expect a lasting cure. You take it consistently, allowing it to strengthen you from within. Your daily practice is that medicine. Start small tomorrow. Perhaps you only manage the morning intention, or you focus on accepting one single inconvenience with grace. Do not attempt the entire routine at once. Choose one piece and do it with full attention. The cumulative effect of these small, daily applications will build a resilience that is not theoretical, but deeply lived, a strength that becomes as natural to you as breathing. We have traveled from the cancelled flight to the inner citadel, exploring a path that transforms our relationship with life's inevitable winds. This journey reveals that Stoic strength is not a cold, unfeeling state, but a vibrant and disciplined art. It is the art of wisely directing our precious energy through the two complementary forces we have discussed, knowing precisely when to adjust our sails and when to accept the direction of the wind. These are not conflicting ideas, but the twin engines of a resilient and peaceful life. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius left us with a guiding light, writing, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This is the essence, to embrace what lies beyond our power with a tranquil heart, while mustering the courage to masterfully guide what lies within it, our judgments, our actions, and our character. As you move forward from this conversation, take a moment for a quiet personal reflection. Which of these two engines, control or acceptance, do you find more challenging to engage in your daily life? And what is one small, practical step you could take this week to gently strengthen it? We would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below as we continue this shared exploration of practical wisdom. If this path resonates with you, consider subscribing for more guidance to help you live with greater clarity and strength.